popular state representative, 40 years of service, and now he's going to have to serve time, get this, at home. Representative John Rogers, what happens next now that he is out of the legislature? His attorney John Robbins will break it all down. You're going to get the accurate facts about the next steps for former Representative John Rogers. I'm Shelia Smoot. The Shelia Smoot Show starts right now.
I also do news Monday through Friday on 98.7 KISS FM, WAGG. Hello. Monday through Friday. And so I was looking for some good news that I did through the week to kind of remind people what's going on. The Smoot news you can use, right, to make it something just positive and uplifting and upbeat, and I barely found it. You know, I was thinking about all the things I report on through the week, Monday through Friday, and then we get to this part of the show through the weekends or wherever you're listening to me on YouTube or Facebook or wherever you're listening on the day you listen. But I actually do this show, on Saturday, and so the Saturday thing, I'm going back over the week of news today, and I finally realized how bad it was. I wrote so many stories. Oh, it is really, it's heartbreaking what is going on. And I do believe that things can be avoided. I do believe things happen for a reason. I do believe God is always in the plan. I am a God person. I believe that God is always in the plan. For whatever reason happens. I believe that there's always a God plan out there, and so from that perspective, you know, I'm very blessed and very grateful that I have all of you listeners nationwide listening in on the internet. Certainly, this radio station, big place I work for, and I'm just grateful that you all are with me. But the news, ooh. It is really bad. It's really bad. So I'm a solution-based person, and all my listeners, hello. You all are all solution-based people. I think that everybody out here needs to go back to the ground and say, what do you think should happen? I am that person. I always believe that things should reinvigorate, restart, re-energize, all of that. I always think that ought to be in the master plan. I don't know everything. You don't know everything. I think if we all collaborate and we all get together, we all kind of brainstorm. And then, you know, don't get me in a brainstorm room, and especially me, and you don't really take it seriously. Don't waste my time, right? Don't waste my time. And don't waste your time. And for those of you who don't want to do that, that's great. That's why you got to get people who carry your best interest to light, take you to light. You got to make sure you reiterate that you expect people to do what they're supposed to do when you send them somewhere. Your expectations are very high, and you guys have to hold people accountable. You definitely have to hold those in big, high places, not just office. I mean, you know, there's a lot of people you can hold accountable. Preachers. I mean, when I talk on the gospel station, you got to hold your congregation and the people that work there, but you got to hold preacher and preacher staff and all of them accountable, because that's what they said they signed up to do, right? So, if you got to, but if you don't want to get involved and engaged, then you get what you got. Let me repeat, if you don't want to get involved and engaged, then you get what you got. And that is not anyone's fault. Now, if you're working for a private company, well, you don't like it and you want to shake things up, good luck. Good luck. Go find another job, because that's not your company. That's not where your spin is. I mean, I get it. A lot of people get mistreated in this world. You know, I know. at working at companies, but it's their company, right? It's their ship. You're on it, and they're steering it. You're not the captain. Now, if you want to be the captain, you can go get your own ship. You can build your own business. You know, the best thing about today's life, and I truly, honestly believe that, the best thing about today's life is that you can get your own thing going, like I'm doing. Survival of the fittest. How do you survive life's changing hands, adversity? How do you survive? I want to take you a little bit through all of what I go through, you know, every day. People don't really know, and I don't really try to talk about it because I'm the type of person that keeps it moving. And it may be painful, but I just keep it moving. I keep it moving. And at the end of the day, and I'm talking about keeping it moving, and Siri, I didn't ask you to say anything. I did not ask, like, why? No, I did. Look, it says didn't ask you. Why are you recording me? I am not talking to you. Goodbye. Whoa. These phones, you better watch these phones. You better watch these phones. I really want to turn her off. Okay, no, I'm not. Did I ask you? No, stop. No. How do I delete her? Do not turn my phone off. Like, turn your phone off. Why am I on the phone while I'm talking to you? Because everybody has this phone. It's like your lifeline. At the end of the day, it is your lifeline. So the survival of the fittest, and I go back to the way I'm looking at rock, and the reason why that kind of took me back a little bit is because you never know who you're going to run into. So number one of survival in my survival packet is treat everybody right. Repeat. Treat everybody right. That is in my survival packet, because even if they're a bad person or they've done something to you or you don't feel favorable to something, always treat everybody right. I don't think that's, I go back to all of my rules of life, mainly the rules that you were trained as a child. They still work in your adult life. You guys got to get over this stuff this beefing, all this energy. If I walk in the room and that energy is negative, I feel it. I have a level of discernment. I feel stuff when I walk in. It's like this light. I came in this morning and I saw the light was dark. I'm like, oh, I feel like a Morgan here. I went and cut the light up. Bright. The energy wasn't right. And then Rocket says, don't be late, Smoot. Don't be late. And I'm like, it is really odd. I'm not going to be late for the show today. So I made it in. So that, and I knew, but my energy was flowing. It was a weird flow, but it was flowing, and I was thinking, and I was going through all of these scenarios of my life. And I said, I'm still going to have a good day. It's still going to be, she's taping me. Siri. This is going to be hard to get, and I talk a lot. And now I got to go back and erase it all. Like, really? Like, she got this whole conversation. And as we were waiting for our guest, who hasn't called us, and you know who that is, Attorney John Robbins. All right, this is who we've been waiting for. John Robbins, Crime of the Week. Attorney John Robbins, how you doing this morning?
Oh, I'm doing okay. Sorry, I'm calling in late. Lost track of time.
Yeah, and I thought you got my text, because you're right. I always text you with topic because I don't want to just come up with topic, but you will be surprised that I could talk a full 30 minutes.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I just did that.
If we turn you loose, you probably could talk for hours straight.
I used to have you're right. I used to have a 2-hour show. I'd be a good filibuster, wouldn't I?
Yeah, you would.
I would be.
Right. That's right. Congress needs to call you in when they need the filibuster.
I know. I'm good. I think that ought to be a job. I think they give me a topic, and they get up there, and I filibuster. I think that's a good job.
Yep.
I would have to get paid for that. And all I need is my water and and that's it. If you give me a water, but you know what? I'd have a straw. It's like, okay, go. I could do it. And you know what, John?
There you go.
That might be a job for me one day.
Yeah, you need to look into it.
Yes, I will. And speaking of that, I was just talking about all the mayhem. I was looking for good news, right? And it was hard for me to find. Monday through Friday, I do an actual news segment. I'm on the air Monday through Friday on several stations in a couple of states doing news. And Rocket and I was trying to look for some good news that I did all week. Only had 3 stories out of the whole 5 days. It's bad. It's bad, but I'm solution based. I just keep it moving and go to the next scenario. So the next scenario is the one I want to talk about, and you've talked on this air before about one of your clients, John Robbins, former representative, now 40 years in the business of governance, and that is now gone. And you guys, John pled guilty, I guess, with the charges. So I'm here to make sure we all get it accurate, that it is illustrated in the right way with a man with such service over time. I don't know if people were stunned. I don't think people were shocked, but I think people were like, okay, cut the guy some slack. Help me understand what has happened to Representative John Robbins.
Sure. Well, I mean, we all know that John Robbins was a polarizing, and is a polarizing individual. There is a segment of the community that love him.
Right.
And there's a segment of the community that has included the federal government for years that I'm not saying despise him, but and I don't mean it in that way. But
it could have been worse. They despised him. He would have. Yeah, it might have been worse.
Yeah, I don't trust him. Don't like him.
Gotcha.
And unfortunately, John got up in age. We're not blaming his age on it, but his wife had passed away. Got tangled up with his co-defendant, who in a way led him astray, and the chips were stacked against him. So sometimes you have to cut your losses. And there's an old saying from lawyers who've been around the block a while and have been in the trenches. Sometimes a good settlement is better than a bad trial.
Right. And so tell me what he got. I know you had often told him to be quiet. And I know on this show you said, no, my guy's not guilty. And at the time, I think, John, that he was not. But he did keep, he was doing, you just couldn't shut him up. He was going on live radio. I never invited him to my radio show. You know why? Because we got you, the lawyer.
And I appreciate that, because I mean, everybody who knows John Robbins knows that he's a talker, and and he loves to talk, and he's a very interesting person. I mean, I really like him. I mean, I
like him too. I like him too.
I got to know him better. I mean, I've known him for years. I got to know him better through this representation of him, and I like him. He's an enjoyable, interesting person to sit around and chat, and we chat about different things. We chat about boxing. He's got a boxing gym, and he wants me to come out to his house and work out, and we talk about the Catholic faith. He's Catholic. He's a cradle Catholic like I am, and we talk about that. And we talk about church, and we talk about politics, and we talk about his family. We're talking. He's interested. He asked about my family and about the people who work for me, and so he just because people go through the criminal justice system doesn't make them a bad person.
Right.
So we have to, and I think we forget that.
Yes, we do.
That.
Yeah.
Not just with John Rogers, but everyone that we run through the system and go to prison and they serve their times. I mean, we tend to look down on them. We tend to think that they're these bad people. And just remember, I mean, this is one of the things that drives me as a lawyer, right? And it always has.
Wow.
Is this?
Yeah.
Remember what Jesus said. That what you do to the least of my brothers.
Yes, John.
You do to me. And you got to remember, if you want to be a lawyer and especially represent people through the criminal justice system, you got to remember that. You've always got to remember that. You got to try to live by that.
It's a tough journey, and when it doesn't go your way, it's even tougher. It's heart-wrenching.
Sure.
It's heart-wrenching. Been there, but for Mr. Rogers, John Rogers, the Mr. Rogers of Birmingham, our Mr. Rogers of Birmingham. When I met him, you're right. He is polarizing. I'm thinking, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And I used to couldn't understand him. He could talk, and I'm thinking, and me and you talked about that before on this show, and but what happens? I think for the 40 years of service, you have a lot. If people go back over the history, and again, that one thing, and and maybe he did get sucked into doing that. I mean, I'm hearing that the co-defendant, Vari Kendall Johnson,
turned on him. She cut a deal with the government to testify against him. Then you also had, another person that was going to testify against him, and another person that's going to testify, and another one.
Really?
And had to.
It was more than 4 people. You think that were going to testify against him?
No, there was at least five that right off the top of your head.
Right off the top of my head. Yeah.
You probably could name them.
I probably could.
One maybe is kind of under the radar, and I certainly don't want to go into identity and things like that.
Right.
No need.
No need.
But
you're right. I can probably, Yeah, those people were kind of active, but the co-defendant was very actively seen quite everywhere. Yes. Like, she was never seen without John Rogers. I mean, I think the general public knows that because they were very visible. Very visible. But all of a sudden, when I see people up here, it's like, where'd you come from? Like, when you appear, that's I'm insulated like that. I don't need you just to appear all of a sudden, get real chummy with me. I mean, chummy is one thing. Going to my house and using my checkbook and writing my bills out is a whole nother thing. That's more than chummy, John. That's more than chummy, John.
I know.
Yes. I tell people.
We all can get sucked into that.
Yeah. You're right. You have to be careful out here. But you're right. The age thing, I think, losing such a person that was near and dear to his heart, who was doing all his affairs, he did need some help there, right? He really honestly needed some help there.
Yeah. And he's got some health issues.
Right.
He got some health issues.
He needs assistance, yeah. So what happens now?
Hopefully, in the end, I mean, the government. It's out there. The government is recommending and does not seek to have him put in prison.
Oh wow, that's good.
they're going to make a recommendation to the judge of some home detention, which in the end, I think that's a good resolution. That would be a good resolution. Before we did anything, we had long talk with Mr. Rogers about it, with John, with my client. We've talked about it for several weeks, and I also got the I ran it by other lawyers who I respected. Just make sure I wasn't missing anything, and John came to an informed decision. Discussed it with his family, and his daughter is very active in his life and looking after him. So that's good. And maybe in a way this has brought them a little closer.
Oh wow, so. That hits home. That hits home. That's good. That's brought them a little closer. I want to, for whatever reason, I can thank the federal government. I do have to say, it could have been worse. I mean, they could have thrown the book at him. I mean, they even at 83 years old, and I go back to Bobby Frank Cherry, but he bombed a little girl, so that's different. I mean, that's way different.
That's so different.
And he was old when they did that case. He was old. I remember it very well. I was a reporter.
Oh, yeah.
Bobby Frank Cherry and that whole group with the 4 little girls that bombed the 16th Street Baptist Church. I can go all the way back, but Bobby Frank Cherry lived a pretty good life, and it was time. I think we all secretly wanted him to spend the rest of his days in a prison cell, but let's go to John Rogers, who has served this community for whatever it's worth and for whatever happened. I have to say, almost thank you to the federal government for not putting an older guy like that with several health issues who made a mistake. But the one mistake he made was just running his mouth constantly. I was hoping he would just be quiet. But again, John, what was that charge, and exactly what is that charge?
Well, he has a conspiracy charge and a obstruction of justice charge. So,
what is conspiracy, John? What is that?
A conspiracy is where 2 or more people enter into an agreement, and it's not a written agreement. I mean, nobody ever writes the agreement down, but enters into an agreement, an agreed upon action, conduct. So you enter into this agreement, and the goal of the agreement is to basically break the law. Okay, and then one of the conspirators does some act in furtherance of the goal of the conspiracy. That is conspiracy, and it's the agreement that is the violation. Federal government's favorite charge.
Okay, an obstruction of justice. Okay, because what? Because what?
Conspiracy is the federal government's favorite charge because it to jurors, I don't know if they understand it, and they think it's a lesser offense. It doesn't sound as bad as the substantive offense. However, you can be punished the same way as if you actually did what we call the substantive crime. If you actually, achieve that goal. So, and I remember, I was involved in a conspiracy case with my client who was charged with 128 counts of substantive violations. Substantive violations of the law, and 1 count of conspiracy, and the jury found him not guilty of all 128 counts of the substantive crime, but guilty of the conspiracy, and he faced a sentence. At the same type of sentence that he was convicted of all 128 substantive counts. So it's the federal government's favorite charge. You rarely in state court see a conspiracy charge.
Gotcha. Also on that home monitoring, does he have to stay in the house? Can he go anywhere? How does that work?
Well, I mean, it basically you're basically in your house, on the property. He's got a pretty big house.
Yeah, he does have a big house, but he can't go to the grocery store or the gas station?
Well, those things are going to have to be worked out in July.
How
when we
far
come,
he
when
can?
we come to a
Okay,
sense.
how far he can?
Yeah, those things, and
Yeah.
obviously, he's going to have to be able to go to his doctors.
Oh, he's got to go to the doctor. I mean, that's like a
Yeah.
thing. Does he have to wear an ankle monitor?
No, that's yet to be determined.
John Robbins. John Robbins not going nowhere.
Not on an ankle,
he's
not
going
on an
nowhere.
ankle monitor right now, and he's
not going anywhere. He was just going to the legislative
He's not
session.
going anywhere.
He's not going nowhere. He's not.
I have encouraged it. I have encouraged him that you're going to have some downtime. You need to write your memoirs.
I would write a book.
Write a book about your time in the Alabama legislature.
What are you talking about?
Which goes back to what, the 80s?
Yeah, 82. Oh my God, he knows
It would be-
everything. Oh, John, I may have to be his agent. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I've encouraged him. Why don't you just sit down and just, what you've experienced over the years and the actual change in Alabama politics.
Attorney John Robbins, Crime of the Week, Sheila Smoot Show with Sheila Smoot, a dynamic duo in itself. Tell us how we can reach you if they need your services.
Text me, send me a text message. I'll always respond. It is 205-835-6818.
John Robbins, thank you so much for breaking that down. We'll see you next week. Have a great day.
Sure. Sorry about being late. You have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm Sheila Smoot. You're listening to The Sheila Smoot Show. And again, don't be a sucker, be a consumer. And again, we will see you next week.